It's the final day of confirmation hearings for Supreme Court nominee Ketanji Brown Jackson. Tensions and emotions ran high yesterday when Judge Jackson faced some very difficult questions from Republican senators. Rebecca Roiphe is here with us now for a full recap. So, Rebecca, Senator Lindsey Graham is receiving criticism for interrupting Judge Jackson continuously. Senator Dick Durbin had to intervene. It's clear now that a lot of what we've seen, both in this confirmation hearing and in the one for Judge Kavanaugh, is a lot of political posturing. But the people who lose out are the American people. Because we're not lawyers, and I've heard very little about her jurisprudence, how she feels about where life begins, how she feels about the Second Amendment, how she feels about the 14th Amendment. It's been a lot of like, hey, you ruled on this back when you were a public defender, or you won't define what a woman is. And then that gets played out on sound bites, on television, both on left-leaning TV and on right-leaning TV. I mean, it is fodder for the media, but there's very little to hold on to for jurisprudence. And
can I just add to that? I mean, do we ever really hear about that from these nominees? Well, I mean, often they're asked about specific cases or issues, and their response is typically, I'm not going to comment if there's a possibility that a case may come before me. Should I become
But it wasn't always like that. It started with Robert Bork, right, in 1987, totally. I believe, 1987. Before that, and that's kind of why we are where we are, because he gave some very detailed responses to questions about the Constitution, and he was not confirmed.
Right. So that's totally true. I mean, there's a line between what would be inappropriate, which is suggesting how she would rule on a particular case, and giving a sense of what her jurisprudence is. I think she did actually a great job of riding that line perfectly. So she was more responsive. She was more forthcoming in some of these questions. She talked about, she explained her view, for instance, of the Fourth Amendment, of the First Amendment, not how she would rule on particular cases, but what her sense of what they mean and how important they are. I think that's helpful. She said she's not an activist judge. That's important. She stays in her lane. And she doesn't really have a judicial philosophy, which I think is important, because originalism tends to be the judicial philosophy of the conservatives these days. And she did not reject using originalism in certain kinds of cases, but she insisted that she was really just going to apply the law to the facts in an impartial way. And I think that's what we should take out of it, is that each case comes to her. She looks at that case individually. She looks at all of the tools for interpreting the law, and she does so in a reserved, conservative sort of way. I mean, by conservative, I mean not stepping out of the role of a judge, but rather making sure that she is not doing that, doing exactly what judges should do.
So today's a day that we're actually going to hear from other groups and people who know her. Is there a possibility we actually may learn much more about her as a judge by listening to these other groups than what we heard over the past 2 days?
It's possible. I certainly think the questioning will be a little bit toned down. There'll be fewer of those moments that you suggested where, you know, we're really just kind of like mugging for television shots and so forth. And so in that way, I think there is a possibility that we'll hear a lot more about substantively some of the cases that she decided, both as a district court judge and as an appellate court judge. And I think that will help people understand what kind of judge she is, flesh out that philosophy that I just explained in terms of how it applies in particular cases.
Did you find it interesting and striking that in many of her responses, she referenced the responses that Justice Coney Barrett gave during her confirmation hearing? What was the strategy there, do you think?
I think it was to try to address the acrimony, so try to tone it down, to suggest that judges are in many ways the same. I mean, it goes back to Chief Justice Roberts, who, when he was confirmed, said, you know, we're judges, we call balls and strikes. And now, in some ways, that's not true. Obviously, we know that. So in some way, ideology plays a role. But there is a way in which judges are the same across these political divides. And I think that's what she was emphasizing, and in a way what Amy Coney Barrett was emphasizing, and back to Justice Roberts. And it's important because it is the key to the legitimacy of the court, that it is not just doing politics. Sure, politics comes in, but there is something else to the job. And I think that's what these nominees want to emphasize, especially in these times of extreme political, divisive rhetoric.
But would you ask a judge, would you ask, as Lindsey Graham did, how did you feel about the confirmations for Brett Kavanaugh? I thought that was like, what would she have to say about that?
Right.
It had nothing to do with her.
And I also thought, sort of to sort of jump on that too, I thought all these questions about her behavior in criminal cases was sort of taking advantage of maybe people's lack of understanding with when it comes to the difference between a judge in a criminal case and what a Supreme Court justice is being asked to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that is true. That a Supreme Court justice will not be determining sentences. A Supreme Court justice will not be ruling on particular evidentiary issues. But that said, there are some criminal issues that come before the Supreme Court, and so there's a loose relationship between how she feels about civil liberties versus safety, because that's a question that will arise in the Supreme Court quite frequently.
Well, one more day of this hearing. Rebecca Roiphe, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Still to come.